Hey. Gosh, I'm so tired from that New York trip.
Hey, Gianna. I know, right, Taline? So glad we get to discuss Catching Fire now.
I'm pulling a blank. Who wrote it again?
Suzanne Collins?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
It's all right, Lauren. So does anyone want to read the prompt?
Oh, I prompt. Great, Taline. A poor but meaningful life and an immensely lavish and rich but cold life. These are the two extremes Katniss has lived through. How the Hunger Games contributed to and affected Katniss's opinion of District 12 and the people within it. How are the characters appearing in this excerpt mirroring or relating to these ideas and opinions? Catherine, do you want to start?
Okay, so I think the first point is in the beginning when Katniss says in paragraph 1, I'm the only one who uses the squat little place where I was raised. To me, it's my real home. So I think wherever she's living now, it's implying right off the bat that she feels that her old home is much better than her new home, but others do not really agree with her.
Well, basically, I think we can all relate to that. People would think that their life would be better when they're rich and famous and they have a lot of money, but really, she just wants to be back home. She doesn't want it all to change.
I agree with Gianna. And to add on to that idea, in paragraph 3, Buttercup, which is the sister's cat.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think we aren't done talking about the house's differences.
I agree. So in paragraph 2, it says, I wish I could go back to it because in retrospect it seems so secure compared to now where I'm so rich and famous and so hated by the authorities in the capital. So she's saying she felt security and like it was her real home before when she was poor, and now she feels like she's under the watchful eye of the capital. She's so rich that she's not as happy as she was before.
I don't really understand where she's coming from. I mean, I'd be very happy if I became rich and famous overnight.
Well, I think the true source of happiness comes from the people that you're surrounding yourself with, not money or luxury.
I agree. Katniss has the capital against her and her issues are so much bigger now. This is obviously going to affect her feelings.
But wouldn't you be happy if you got the latest iPhone?
True, but I think that the situation is much deeper than getting a hoverboard and the latest iPhone.
The way she feels about her old house, it's almost like an emotional tie between Katniss and her house.
She's feeling nostalgia.
Yeah, the emotional tie is more important than her practicality.
It says that she felt more secure in her old life. Maybe that's because she was more in the shadow instead of the spotlight?
I think it's more that she's hated by the capital, and she didn't really want to adjust to the changes because she was comfortable in her old home, and she didn't want to live a new life. What about the mirroring part of the prompt before?
Later in paragraph 9, Hazel, Gail's mom, says, that'd be good. Gail means to, but he's only got his Sundays. And I think he likes saving those for you. I think she's talking about her bond with Gail.
But later, the text says, before my fellow tribute, Peeta Millark announced he was madly in love with me. She has newly found out that Peeta loves her, and this was actually a survival strategy for her in the game. But now she has the conflict that before the games, Gail and her were so close that people thought they were actually going to get married. She's fighting with how she felt about Gail before the games and how she feels about Peeta after the games.
I mean, Peeta's loved her all along.
But she didn't know that.
I guess.
But it says it wasn't just a strategy for Peeta, and there's more in between them.
Well, that's just for Peeta. For her, she said she didn't really know what it was.
It doesn't really say that she loved Peeta, it just said that he announced that he was madly in love with her.
Well, the relationship that she seems to have with Hazel, it's just kind of feels like she's feeling uncomfortable, especially since she's with Gail's mother, who just implied that they're supposed to be together.
But honestly, I think she doesn't really feel uncomfortable with her because it says, hardly anyone knows me better than Hazel. So I feel like that feeling is kind of like a human talking to an animal or pet, sort of comforting.
But their relationship, I like Hazel, respect her. And it says, less than a week after she gave birth, she was out hunting the streets for work. So I think Katniss respects Hazel's work ethic and that she's determined not to have any children other than Gail, have to put their names in for tesserae. That's where it says he was already assigned a tesserae, which entitled him to a supply of grain and oil in exchange for his entering his name extra times in the drawing to become a tribute.
What's tesserae again?
Well, I researched it and found out that it's basically this thing you put in to get more money or food supply, but your name gets put in more times, so you're more likely to become tribute.
That's cool. Kind of like buying more lottery tickets.
Well, kind of the opposite, actually.
Well, what about Buttercup? Isn't she another connection between Katniss's old and new life?
Yeah, it says in paragraph 3, he dislikes the new house almost as much as I do and always leaves it when my sister's in school. I mean, that's a cat. Buttercup felt the same way Katniss did about the house, so she feels like she has a connection with her cat, and the cat helps her through problems with the new house.
Who's Buttercup again?
Buttercup is Prim's cat, the sister's cat.
Oh, okay. Are we starting to answer the second part of the prompt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should discuss this quote in paragraph 3. We've never been particularly fond of each other, but now we have this new bond.
So because the cat is liking the old house just as much as Katniss, they're both They're both going back to the old house, and they have more in common than they thought they did. So they went from disliking each other to having something in common.
I mean, she does later say, "You're hideous," you know that, right? So I think it's more even that, even though Buttercup is an animal, it's nice to have someone to talk to.
But wouldn't that mean that she doesn't like the cat? I mean, if you were to call someone hideous, you don't usually like them.
Well, when she says you're hideous, you know that, right? Katniss is petting the cat, so it's more of an affectionate insult, if that makes any sense.
Like sarcasm.
Oh,
Even if Buttercup is an animal, it's important to Katniss to have someone who shares her opinion of the house.
Katniss finds Buttercup comforting through the fact that she is not alone in feeling that most people would want to be rich and famous, but she prefers their house when they were poor and really had a scrape by in life. And even if it is a cat, it's someone or something that relates to her. But honestly, the fact that she's talking to an animal suggests she's a little...
Well, a lot of people talk to their pets. It's a pretty normal thing to do. I don't think that makes her crazy.
but technically it's not a cat, which may show she's trying to fit in somewhere, as she doesn't really have a place in the Victor's Village, and I guess she feels that no one else really backs up her ideas.
Cool. Okay, let's summarize. So the old house and the new house represent the different lives she led, as well as Peeta and Gale.
And the Hunger Games have changed Katniss's opinions on relationships with Peeta and Gale, along with her perspective on wealth, fame, and living in a mansion in Victor's Village.
And Buttercup and Hazel mirror and relate to Katniss's ideas about this.
Are we done? Because I have to go to basketball practice.
I think so, unless anyone has anything else to add.
I think we're done, and I have wrestling.
I have football too. Bye, guys.
Bye!